Hey, welcome to Fries and a Glass of Wine. I'm Mel, and this is the podcast where we sit down, share a plate of fries, pour a glass of wine, and just talk. Like, really talk. Every other week, I invite a friend, or sometimes a stranger, to join me for a casual, heart-led conversation about life, love, work, or whatever's on our minds. No scripts, no structure, just real conversations over fries and wine. So grab a glass, settle in, and let's see where this one goes. Today I'm joined by my great friend Terry. Now if that name sounds familiar, you might have heard his name be brought up a few times in my previous episode with his wife Ashley. Terry is like a big brother to me. He is on the board of directors of my life, and in every conversation with him, I am laughing, I'm learning, and I'm growing as a human. And so I'm really excited for you guys to hear this one.
Cheers.
Terry, thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Our first non-alcoholic wine.
I'm liking it. Hand on heart.
Yeah.
It's got a sweetness to it, a little bit of tang.
Yeah. A little lighter for a cab sauv.
Right. So a lot of times a cab can be a bit more, you can go a little bit drier on a cab sometimes. And so I sort of appreciate the lightness, the acidity in this.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. I almost kind of want it to be cold though. You know?
Yeah, I think because of the tang, it being cold would kind of make it refreshing almost. Yeah. I could imagine this being a sparkling as well. You know, like the flavor profile of this with some bubbles would be kind of nice.
Like a Lambrusco.
Yeah. Overall, I like it. It's a vibe. I'm feeling this hand on heart.
Yeah. I, last summer, or before I moved down, I've been drinking Lambrusco for a little bit, and I'm like, Lambrusco is going to be the next like rosé or Aperol spritz.
I can see that.
And I'm like, you heard it here first. And I talked to like waiters. I'm like, just hear me out. Like 2 to 3 years, Lambrusco is going to be everywhere.
Like, this is the wave. The train has left the station. That's where we're going. So you get yourself ready.
Yeah, just prepare. You're going to remember this random girl in the restaurant said this, and you're going to be like, she was right. Because then I've seen it in cans now too, but not everywhere. It's very select. So I'm like, this is going to be a thing.
That's awesome.
But so I'm excited. And I'm also happy that you get to be the non-alcoholic.
Yeah. Thanks for going zero proof for me today and accommodating. Getting ready for this race.
Yeah.
Keeping everything clean.
Yeah.
But it's nice to still have a good refreshing sip. So appreciate you.
I actually don't drink as much as I used to anymore. So it's nice to like explore non-alcoholic ones. Yeah. And like have that in your back pocket too. Yeah. I
feel like a lot of people are going that direction now.
Yeah.
I think as there's just more education, more research going into it. Heard recently there's the Surgeon General is going to start putting warning labels on alcohol the way that when we were kids it was on cigarettes. Yeah. And you know, there's like,
I'm just all over the place right now getting comfy. Just ignore me.
You're good.
This will be part of the experience. There we go.
Yeah, no, I hear that like statistically a lot of people are choosing to decrease or even eliminate alcohol. Yeah. There's a lot more research, a lot more awareness. Surgeon General's warnings going on alcohol like it used to go on cigarettes. Yeah. And it's like that same effect is playing out where it's like, we just kind of didn't ask questions. We did it for leisure. And then now we have more information. And we're like, wait a second. I don't sleep as good. Yeah. Wait a second. I can't get the most out of my workouts. Wait, I don't know if I really want to.
I just don't feel so great. Yeah. You know, I noticed, during the pandemic and all the lockdowns, drinking went up. Like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
And like when I was the first half of the pandemic or the first little bit, I had a roommate. And so we would go out like once a week because it was like restricted as to like when we could go get groceries and booze. And so we would load up. I remember I had like 20 bottles of wine and it would last us like the week because we had nothing else to do. But then after when I went and lived on my own again and I was like drinking by myself, I'm like, why am I drinking by myself? Like, I don't really enjoy this. Like, it's a social thing for me. Yeah. So like, I actually don't have like wine in the home if I don't have someone coming over. Yeah. And it's more of a social thing or a celebratory thing.
I get that. Yeah.
So yeah. And I think, especially with like my past, it's very surprising to people too. Cause like I would get a lot of gift cards for the LC or in Canada, we call it the LCBO. That's where you get your alcohol. But I'd get gift cards to go like buy alcohol. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't really need that right now. Like, I'm good. Or I'll go out and I won't drink at all. And people are like, what? You not drinking? I'm like, I never heard, what? I did.
Like, is everything okay?
Like, did you think I had a problem? Like, I would actually go out quite often and not drink, but you guys would think I was drinking.
Yeah.
And so though the name of this is fries and a glass of wine, it's a social act of it. And so whether it be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, it's the act of like going out and like
it's a vibe. Like wine is such a communal experience, right? Like coffee or like anything that gathers humans around a common table, right?
Yeah.
We have our best conversations when we are filling our bellies and just enjoying a good time with each other. So,
or just like enjoying the weather too, especially since it's
this
such a
weather,
nice day right now.
Houston's showing out.
Yeah, just sitting there, like having a drink in hand, like the act of that is so nice. And like, you know, people do it over coffee, but I'm not a huge coffee drinker. Also, like you can't do that in the afternoon unless then you're just like wired.
Yeah, I'm a coffee snob.
Oh, you are?
I get down on a good black coffee in the mornings.
Okay.
I don't want cream. I don't want sugar. I want to taste the bean. Like I love a good, rich, full-bodied black coffee every morning.
Interesting.
It's my jam.
Yeah, no, not for me. That is the opposite. But like, do you use coffee, like the ritual coffee, or do you need it for the caffeine?
Good question. I think for me, it's really more of the ritual. Because I'll pop up like 4 a.m., take off, run a few miles. That itself energizes the body and brain.
Yeah.
Like I'm on for the day, right?
Yeah.
But I enjoy coming in from that run. I get a nice shower. There's still some time before it's time to get the kids up and get ready for school.
Yeah.
And I create a masterpiece of a black coffee. Like I love my whole little process.
Yeah.
Heating the water in a kettle on the stove. And I use, it's called an AeroPress to make the coffee. And so I'm brewing it by hand by putting hot water over ground beans and using a system that pressurizes it and creates this awesome, foamy, frothy, steamy cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I drink it in my favorite mug and I sit and I slowly enjoy it. I have I call it quiet time. And it's a wonderful experience. So yeah, it's really the ritual of coffee that I love.
This like paints such like a perfect picture of you. And like as you're saying, I'm like, this is on brand for Terry. Like just like your vibe too, and just like liking the art of coffee and like the ritual. I'm like, oh, this is so on brand for him. And I was like,
yeah, it's like the experience. I'm an experienced person. You know what I mean?
Like if you were to tell me like you really love the art of a cocktail, I'd be like, that's on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I appreciate the art of a cocktail too, but I'm just like, your vibe as a whole, that makes sense. But it's like the well, you start off with a run, so it's not really a slow morning. But I love a slow morning as well.
Ironically, though, I'll say this is something I recently discovered. So I was running really fast because I want to run fast, right? Gotten into hybrid fitness racing, the whole deal. So I'm like, I got to get my pace better. So I'm pushing pace. And I was saying to somebody at the gym, like, man, I'm just trying to get faster. And this is my pace, my goal pace, And this is an avid runner I'm talking to. And so the client becomes the coach. This guy's like, running fast a lot is just going to get you injured. Running slow a lot will get you faster. So then I started asking better questions.
Yeah.
I got with a run coach and he confirmed this for me. He was like, well, you actually want to be in zone 2 for most of your miles. So 80% of the miles I run weekly are at a pace so slow, I could hold a conversation while running or even sing a song while running. And that's piece of this protocol where you're strengthening muscle mitochondria, you're becoming stronger at the act of running.
Yeah.
Your body processes oxygen better, buffers off lactic acid. So then when you do choose to run fast, you have the aerobic base and you can really smoke some heads on the run. So the irony is that I start the morning running, but it's generally still a slow morning.
Interesting.
I'm not out there huffing and puffing and trying to push for pace. I'm out there like clearing my head.
Yeah.
And asking big questions. I'm talking to God and talking to myself and I'm getting grounded for the day. I come in after that run and I'm just like, bring it. Yeah.
That's really interesting because I was actually thinking, I was talking about this yesterday, weirdly, in my massage. My massage therapist and I have a great relationship. And I was saying, like, I've been walking a lot lately. And he was like, well, how come you're not running? Because we had talked about, like, I used to run in the mornings. And I was like, I was a sprinter. in high school. And so like my mind is still, and Ashley is the same way. Like we run fast to get it over with. And like you're saying the same thing. Like I just like want to move to my next thing. So if I'm running fast, I'll get it done faster. And then I also said like, because I run that way, like I injure myself I literally said those words, I injure myself all the time. He's like, well, is it your stride? I'm like, no, I've had my stride checked out. It's just because I'm trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible that I'm not listening to my body. I'm just trying to get this over and done with.
Yeah.
And so then I injure myself. And also I still think I'm as fast as I used to be. So I'm just like, let's go. Yeah. And then I'm just pushing past the limits.
So it sounds like you're an achiever by nature. So for you, efficiency feels like excellence, right? Yeah. If I can get from point A to point B really fast, I did a good job today. I've won the day. I've conquered. Yeah. This is what victory feels like. Yeah. If I had done it slow, I'd feel a little bit of shame maybe.
Yeah. Also, I think that, no, it's definitely like the environment that I was in too. In Toronto, it's a bit more fast paced than Houston.
Yeah.
It's big city. Well, I mean, Houston's the fourth largest city, but it's big city, walkable city, right? And so when you plan your day, like you have to be in the office by a certain time. So I'm like, if I want to get, 6 kilometers in the morning, I have to run at this time. And if I like oversleep like a little bit, then I have to speed up my pace to make sure this is done so I can shower and I can eat and I can get to the office. And so I noticed this when talking to someone recently because they are building out this AI assistant for your calendar and to manage your emails and everything. I think it's really cool. But I'm like, we're hacking for efficiency to do the most. And in conversation with them, I'm like, this isn't me anymore. It's changed. Where I'm just like, I prefer slow morning.
Yeah.
And like, if my body isn't feeling like doing something that day, which is different than like you just being lazy. It's just like, this just doesn't feel aligned. Like it's not happening. I'm going to wait until I feel aligned. But yeah, so it's like, I'm breaking down that overachiever part of me these days. I'm still achieving, but in just like I'm not putting that pressure on myself because that's how I burned out so many times because I was doing so much.
Because it's great to be an achiever, but then when you remove that pressure, now you're not that overachiever. I love how you said that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't sit in, because I had so much on the go, I wouldn't sit in accomplishments. I wouldn't realize what I had, the impact I was having or what I was doing. And I remember I had a friend, she was actually a consultant, an art consultant, or she was an art curator that has now become a friend. And we were talking about the name of the art collection that she'd curated that I named, and like the impact of that, and like how we went about it, and like not the constraints, but the requirements. It was, I think it's 18 to 21 piece art collection in Toronto.
Wow.
And I made sure that it was representative of Canada and Toronto. And so it's like highly diverse with the artists.
Dope.
And just like the messaging through the art too, and to pass it through to get it approved by a very institutional conservative group and have them all love it. Like that was a huge impact. And she was like, yeah, we've created pieces that are one-of-one reprints that are currently on exhibit in the Art Gallery of Ontario. And artists approved that. And like, so it was to have all these artists exhibit in this space together and like support each other and tell that story. She's like, you created something really impactful here by like pushing for this.
That's cool.
And she's like, do you realize what you've done? And I was like, no, honestly, I have too much on my plate. I think that, when we open up and we like do an event around it, maybe I'll see the impact of it, but like, yeah, no. And then because I'd left that job before it could open because of lockdowns again, like it opened 2 years after I left the job.
Wow.
And like all my work had not been touched in that time. So essentially like everything that I put towards it went to market. Just I wasn't there to receive not receive it, but like sit in that accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it took a while. It did a trip on my brain. And so I was like, how am I living? How am I sitting in it, in things when they're happening? Am I giving flowers in the moment? Am I receiving flowers in the moment too? So it's been a journey of breaking down that.
Yeah.
And like, I vividly remember a conversation with you and I don't know if you've gotten better at this, receiving compliments.
Oh yeah, I've been working on it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, ever since we had a conversation about it, I've been kind of pausing and expressing gratitude and allowing myself to receive it fully before I then open my mouth to say something else, right? Because it's so easy to just ping pong the honor and throw it back, right?
Yeah.
But I think it means so much more to an individual for you to first like receive their gift. If they gave you a gift, it's rude to not receive it, right? And then if I want to reciprocate, I can do that after first fully receiving it.
Yeah.
I want to pause you. There was two things I wanted to throw out here. Number one, first of all, shout out to you for curating a collection of art that accurately reflects the buzz of the city, but still having to run it past and get appeasement of leaders of state. Because I know that there can be a big rift there, and it can seem like a cultural divide, right? Like, so that's amazing. That's an awesome accomplishment, right?
The curation was my friend, but like pushing it through and, shaping how we presented and everything was me. But because I'm like, I still go.
Hey, are you struggling to receive a compliment right now?
Oh,
I'm gonna minimize myself by saying I was only the logistics of the operation, as if logistics is not a key piece of it, right?
Ooh, okay.
The body can't operate without a heartbeat. It sounds like you were the heartbeat of this operation. Okay. So there's that.
Okay, we're still working on it. We're a work in progress.
I love that.
Clearly.
I love that. The second thing I want to throw out there is that lack of willingness to sit in a thing when there's a good thing to be sat in. I think a lot of it is not intrinsically a bad or wrong thing. It's the brain protecting the body. It's the brain saying, hold on, keep your feet moving, don't get lazy. Don't be complacent because you've done a little something. Show me the next thing, right? Yeah. And if we didn't have that mechanism, like athletes would not become world champions, nor would they sign new contracts and break records. Like humans would be like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? I played a great game. And then the check is nice, so I'll just go to Miami on vacation. Yeah. No, they're like, we haven't done anything yet. You see in interviews all the time, we've done nothing yet. Still got 2 games to play. Kobe Bryant has a famous interview where they're up 2-0 in best of 7 series. So you win 4, you're going to be a world champion here. They're up 2-0. So the media is already, ready to run the Kobe Bryant hype train. We got media. We got Wheaties boxes to print up and, souvenirs to sell to kids, like your business. Like, we're going to sell this Kobe narrative. And he's like not smiling. He's like, what's there to smile about? Job's not done. Job's not finished. He needed that mentality to show up with killer instinct, or what he calls Mamba mentality. Yeah. It was the mindset that carried him forward to be able to finish the job, right? So it's not bad, I think, necessarily that we struggle to sit in our accomplishments, but it also is so freaking powerful when we can pause, process, and then produce. Yeah. When we can say, job's not done, got more to do, want to have killer instinct, I want to go to new levels. I'm not satisfied here, but am I proud here? Yeah. Am I grateful here? Yeah, I can pause and acknowledge that. Like, this is good. Yeah. And then now I'll move my feet again.
This is why I love our conversations, because in my head, I'm like, oh, we want to talk about X, Y, and Z today, but now I want to go down a whole new rabbit hole with you. And an athlete, and I'm going to butcher his name. I always butcher it because I think I have it right, and then I doubt myself, and I say it the wrong way, and then I had it right the initial way. Giannis.
Yes, Giannis.
Oh, I got it right.
Antetokounmpo.
Yes, he has a similar mentality, and I love listening to him.
And he'll even turn it on its head the opposite direction and challenge the definition of failure. Yeah. He has a famous interview snippet where I believe this might have been the season after he and the Bucks had won the world championship. And so that next season they don't win the championship. And the journalist asking him about it calls it a failure. And I don't think he intended to offend Giannis, but Giannis's answer was amazing.
Love it.
He was like, Michael Jordan, which by the way, you're using as an example here now, the greatest to ever do it. Of course, there's debate. Is it LeBron? Is it Jordan? In my opinion, it's Jordan. And clearly in Giannis's, it is as well. So we'll use that example and give it the honor it deserves. And he says, Michael Jordan played for what, 19 years? He won 6 championships. Are we calling 13 of his years failures?
Yeah.
That was so powerful. Because you think about, too, the 6 championships Jordan won. So he wins 3 world championships. That's already crazy. Mm-hmm. Leaves basketball, plays baseball for 2 years.
Also,
then comes back.
No, becomes a movie star.
You know, all of that, yeah. The original Space Jam, he did a lot of living. Yeah. Came back to basketball, okay? Mm-hmm. Even personal stuff. Loses his father in the process. Like, whew.
Yeah.
Wins 3 more championships. So you're talking 6 rings total. All 6 times he went to the NBA Finals, he comes out of it with the ring. He's never gotten close and lost.
Yeah.
Right? And he never needed a game 7 in these 7-game series. Like, nobody was close enough to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And Giannis, reflecting on that, is essentially saying, if we are to dive deeper into his words and mince them for mindset nuggets, he's essentially saying there is so much to be harvested in greatness that you waste your time dabbling in self-loathing and defeat when you're not experiencing current greatness. Mm-hmm. So like if Giannis has won a title and he believes he has the potential to someday win another one, that should be enough for Giannis, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so I know you work with athletes a lot.
Yeah.
And like their mentality and and the coaching around that. Yeah. And like we're seeing like Giannis with that really beautiful mentality.
Yeah.
And like you're talking about like, you know, athletes always striving to be better and everything. So like they have like the framework there. Mm-hmm. Do you see them applying that to their personal lives and like how they move through life? Because the tools are there, but I just don't think that they're looking at it in the other way. And they get a bad rap as like people sometimes too. When sometimes you have to look at their circumstances. Like a lot of these athletes, some of them like the newer ones, not the newer ones, the rookies are like, they have their entire families riding on their success to take them out of a certain, social and economic environment, right? Yep. And so you're putting that pressure on like an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And then you have NIL or name, image, likeness starting in college now. So that's even, or in high school too, I think.
Yeah, in some states you even have it in high school. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. So you're putting these pressure on like kids who are also trying to figure out, their emotions, and they're changing like bodies and all of that. I don't know why we went that way, but we're just going to go with it. And like their social dynamics, and then you're putting the pressure, and then being an athlete and education, then you're putting the layer of like lifting up a family on top of that. So you have some athletes experiencing that and like all that pressure. And then you have athletes who have just like their validations is tied to it too. Mm-hmm. And then it's all that, again, I think it's just all the pressure, and they don't know how to channel it appropriately. And then they, can act out and whatnot. Like, are you seeing like a shift now?
Yeah. Like, so I would say in my work with athletes, one thing that I've seen is kind of the adoption of a mindset that is geared specifically toward performance. Mm-hmm. And so there's kind of this compartmentalization of life where when I'm on the court or I'm on the field, there's a certain persona I'm carrying in that environment.
Yeah.
And then there's a separation to life outside of that. However, I see that showing up after playing careers end, where say they go into business. Now they're carrying that like tenacious mindset that made them an elite athlete in the field of business. So where people whose brains are wired like yours or mine, who could be more type A or more creative, could be on different ends of like an intellectual spectrum in business or entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. We have tons of gears that we can use to get great stuff done. But it's almost like an athlete has this other gear. If they want to tap into it, that's like, it's pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. The same way that they would use court vision or field vision to see what's not yet there and imagine 2 steps ahead and execute what other people are thinking. It's just absolutely brilliant. But the compartmentalization, I think, although we could imagine if athletes had that same elite mindset and life outside of sport while they're playing sport, it could be good in some areas. One thing I find to be really beautiful is that with some of these people, they're like, when I'm inside the game, I'm going to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
That whistle blows, lights go out in the arena. Now I am, and there's a whole different identity. I'm a present father, or I'm, I love Jimmy Butler is an example of an NBA player who, like me, loves coffee. And so he's like, man, I went from just being a coffee snob and I loved my specialty coffees to now I'm launching coffee shops.
Yeah.
And he has this whole other pursuit, right?
Yeah.
But there's a book called Win the Inside Game. It's about the neuroscience of elite performance. It's by Steve Magnus, a guy that's from here in Houston. Mm-hmm. And he talks about players adopting these personas. And usually it's a really good thing. So like Aaron Judge in baseball, he calls himself 99. Kobe, as we talked about, it was Mamba mentality, right?
Or then Beyonce and Sasha Fierce.
There you go.
The day.
Right. So she had this alter ego, Sasha Fierce. Sasha Fierce isn't who she is when she's giving her kids a bath at night and being mommy, right? Yeah. But it's amazing as a stage persona, right? An example of it going terribly wrong is Johnny Manziel adopting the persona of Johnny Football, which now this is before NIL and players getting paid. I think there was kind of some reason for it. It's like, man, so many people are making money off my name, and that can drive a person to a tough place mentally. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm owning it, and I'm picking up this other persona, and he was out here getting money under the table like crazy. And it's, according to the documentaries and in his own words, it led him to a pretty terrible place. And so it can backfire as well. Yeah. But I think there's something to be said for, in a way that is psychologically wise and safe, for saying, you know what, this is the persona I put on when I step into X environment.
But I would imagine like there's groundwork that needs to be done with an athlete to do that too. Because I see, and this is not just in like with sports or artists or people in celebrity, right? But now I'm like to like the everyday people looking at that. We see someone doing something great, and so we copy their routines and we think that that's going to be the fix, but it's not, like, because you're not also seeing the background work that person's doing to get to that place.
That's right.
And I find that really interesting. Just like people just not wanting to do the work. Yeah. And understanding the why. I think it always goes back to like, what is the why? Yeah. And everything. That
for sure.
I find that really interesting.
My run coach says something pretty profound from time to time. He says that the people who are average major in the minor things, but the greats only major in the major things. Like they keep the main thing. So for example, let's say that, Tom Brady signs a deal with a supplement brand and begins to talk about how he's using this supplement. And it's just so awesome. It's his favorite part of his morning routine. Well, a high school kid who plays the position of quarterback, who looks up to Tom Brady, he can be like, that's it. That's the thing that's going to make me excellent. It's like, no. Tom Brady became excellent because he's freaking Tom Brady. Yeah. There was some measure of skill that was there, whether he was going to do the work or not. Then he showed up and he actually outworked everybody, and his talent was unlocked at a level that made him a 7-time Super Bowl champion. There's a fundamental difference between that and this new creatine that he's now taking while he's retired and 47 years old. Yeah. Right.
And also he went into it with a chip on his shoulder too. Yeah. With the way that he was not drafted.
He was drafted in like the 6th or 7th round. Yeah. Had terrible, like there's video that they still play to this day, kind of like making a meme of a legend. And like he looked goofy running and he had a slow 40-yard dash time. And in a way, like it makes a mockery of the metrics. What are we using to track people? Because clearly he's the greatest to ever do it. Like he didn't need to impress you with his bench press numbers.
Yeah. It's like, looking at like applying that to almost anything in life, like something might check all the boxes, but there's that extra thing that misses, like you can't, it's not, you can't replicate it.
Right. For
Right.
everyone who's going to come in like Brady, poorly drafted or undrafted, and then show up and shine, there's also that 5-star blue chip, top notch, all the hype behind his name, steps in and is just like, what happened?
Yeah.
It blew up. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It's a bust.
I think we always see that. I don't know why my mind always goes back to like movies.
Yeah.
Like probably like in the late or early 2000s, like it was like that trope of the star athlete doing really well, but is like struggling with something else and like doesn't want to do that. And like wants to do something else, but like his dad is like, you have to do this. And then there's like the other one who has the heart, who doesn't have the stats and everything. Like I feel like that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like Brady had the heart and he got, the skills and like pushed himself to get there.
Sometimes you got that person that's just got that dog in them and they're just willing to get that extra. They'll fight for every inch.
Yeah. And then sometimes you have someone who's just both.
Yeah.
Right. Do we have someone who's both right now?
Ooh. I think I'm going to give LeBron his flowers and say he might. I mean, he's got elite talent for sure. But then also you got to think this guy's in his 40s now. His son plays on his team. Like that's the longevity.
Yeah.
Like he's putting in the freaking work.
Yeah.
I saw him talk on the Starting Five documentary about the rumors that he spends $1 million on his body annually. So like, physical therapy, and training and massage and like all the things that keep him like young enough biologically that he can be 40 and run with 20-year-olds. And he's like, yeah, I laughed at those numbers. I'm not going to disclose any hard numbers, but what I will say, the biggest thing all this cost me is sleep. He talks about like holistic health, meditating, sleeping, eating clean, like the simple things. So again, we're back to that conversation around like people don't want to do the work, right? And so you have like probably he's definitely the greatest of this era, right? And he's like, that's your keys right there,
Sleep. Yeah. It's funny that it's landed on that because I would ask you all the time, when do you sleep? Because if someone were to look at just like the stats of your life, like you're up at 4 a.m., you're running, you're making coffee, like not just like a Keurig or an espresso coffee, like you're
death
brewing,
before Keurig.
Yeah. you're brewing a coffee, you've got 3 kids at home, you're running a gym, you're also like now this is your hype reel right now. You're a public speaker, you're being flown out by brands, you're talking to athletes by like teams, and you're just like on the go, and you're a loving husband and like setting like the blueprint of like being a good husband. And then you were involved in your church. I don't know are you still involved in your new church?
Yeah. So we just got recently plugged into Gather, which is really dope. It's like small and super focused on like loving our unhoused neighbors and stuff. So it's fire. So we're getting increasingly more involved there. We got the kids involved and like doing fun community projects where they get to like really understand it. They're not just like, we go and we sit in a place on Sunday and sing a song and listen to somebody talk. Instead, it's like very active and engaging. Yeah. It's been awesome. But anyway.
But so now, and then you're a very present father.
Yeah.
And you're a present friend too, when you have the capacity.
Yeah.
And my question is always like, when do you rest or when do you sleep? And like and I have asked other people around me who are also like very high achievers like yourself, like are doing a lot. I'm like, when are you sleeping? And like, that's also my way. Like maybe it's like, in the like Chinese culture, like a way of showing love is like asking, have you eaten? My thing is, when have you rested? Like, when are you sleeping?
That's great.
And so like, when are you sleeping?
Yeah, I love that. Nurture as an act of support and love. So for me, honestly, I try to sleep 7 hours a night, which I know it sounds like, is this guy ever sleeping? But like, I don't do well if I don't get enough sleep. And so I prioritize it. I would risk losing sleep for family and friends before I would risk losing sleep over work. I've read one incredible book where this high achieving, record breaking individual who I respect so much for the stuff he's accomplished was going into like what it takes to achieve all these things. And he had examples like forgetting his anniversary, not taking his kids on vacation. He had a story in this book about taking his kids to a movie theater to watch a movie, buying them ices and being like, I'll be right back. I'm gonna run a quick 5 miles and I'll come back before the movie's over. And I'm hearing all this and I'm like, I don't resonate with any of that from a core values standpoint. Like
Yeah.
that to me doesn't say determination. That to me says like being out of touch with your family and being blessed that they haven't left you. That's just my take. I'm not trying to put that on anybody else, but according to my value system. I read a different book from another leader. This individual at one point in his career was a vice president of Disney and Beyonce's tour manager. And he had a personal policy that his laptop closes at 5 p.m. and he doesn't touch it. He's like, if nothing's on fire, don't call me. I'm like, that resonates with me. That feels more bold and empowering. And again, just according to my own core value system, that feels more correct.
Yeah.
It feels like I know what matters to me and I'm gonna get home to cook dinner for my babies and I'm gonna be a present husband and nothing's gonna stop me from that, even if I do busy stuff. It's like, oh yeah, Beyonce just called, I'll hit her back later.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish watching Paw Patrol with the kiddos right now. And so for me, that's kind of where my mindset is. Like I'll live in a manner that can look outwardly like I'll sleep when I'm dead because I'm always up to stuff.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you can guarantee it. Your boy is asleep.
Yeah. You're like,
every night I'm in there. Yeah.
Like, what time do you go to bed?
Well, we put the kids down. We plan for that to be 7:30. We're not super strict on it. It might be 8:15 that they're down. And then, you know, I typically have already showered before we get the kids down. So I got an easy process of brushing teeth, unwinding for a little bit. And I'm probably asleep by like 9 o'clock. And then again, getting up at 4, like that's 7 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, most individuals are going to need somewhere between 7 to 9, an average of 8.
Yeah.
You know these things really by tracking it if you want to wear like Aura, Whoop, any of the measurables. But for me, I have found that 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep is like my sweet spot. So I try to hit it. If it has to be 6, it has to be 6. I'm not going to say no to, spending some extra time with the kiddos or having an incredible conversation with Ash, But yeah, that's kind of my cutoff. If I'm like 5 hours or less of sleep, like you're not getting full Terry. I'll still try to show up well, but there's brain fog. You know what I mean? There's distractibility.
Yeah.
I'm just not my best self. And I am the type of person, I'm not really happy in my own skin if I'm not showing up as my best self.
Yeah, I get that. I'm also very sleep sensitive too.
Yeah. Sleep sensitive. That's dope.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's the first time I've heard that
it's the
phrasing.
First time I've ever said it.
Dope. I was like, is this a thing? And I've been missing it? Sleep sensitive. I'm with it.
Yeah. No, it was from a young age. Like I would have insomnia and I'm like, why do I have insomnia? Like my mom would bring me back like tinctures or whatever she'd see. I went to a doctor and being like, I need to sleep. Like I have to sleep. And if I don't get my rest, I am off. And, but I do this to myself where like and I'm still working on it. It's like trying to maximize time with people when I'm traveling. So I'll take the last flight out and then I'll land at a certain time. Call it like the other day I got home at 1 a.m. and then I had a whole bunch of stuff to do the next day. And then I had insomnia and then I had to be up at 6 a.m. driving to Austin. And I was like, I have not slept. And so I noticed that when I'm that way, I'm like a zombie as I'm moving around. You can say something to me and I'm like, yeah, or I'm a little bit drier in my humor, or in my responses. And so then it comes across as like prickly. And I'm like, I haven't slept. And then I have to like rely on actually coffee at that point to just get me moving through the day.
Yeah. And
then that throws my sleep schedule off and I'm like, absolutely not. And then I just don't feel my best self.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we're like happy people. I say like happy people, but like we're bubbly people.
Yeah. Like joy forward.
Yeah.
If we can continue terming things.
Yeah.
Joy forward.
The minute you take sleep away, someone sees another side of you and you're like, oh, yeah, this exists. What? Or I can't hold a conversation. I've had it where I was suffering from jet lag and it was a really bad jet lag and someone's trying to have a conversation with me and like that hour hit where like my brain just shut off and I'm just like, what? I don't know what you're saying. I'm present, but I'm not present,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And just,
Out of there.
yeah, fully checked out. And yeah, so like people who run on no sleep, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I need to sleep. And it's so like, there's all the studies that show like it manages your cortisol and all of that, and rest and repair. But going on the joy forward train, and like people, I think, because I've been experiencing this lately, you know, people see me as bubbly and just like in everyone's corner for the most part. But then like there's those moments when I'm not feeling great.
Yeah.
It's like dark.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend, she saw me, she's like, I did not know existed in you. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not happy all the time. I'm not like rainbows and sunshine. I'm like a real person. So I feel the other end too. But like, do you have those moments?
Yeah, for sure. So
like when you kind of get dark and you're just like,
yeah, which like you pointed out can be very surprising to people, because it's like, if you're known for a smile and an inspirational presence, people are like, I can't imagine you like mad or sad or like what in the world, like I just can't conceive that.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, human is a human. We have like 3,400 different emotions.
Oh, good Lord.
You know, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And that's just like current research, and you know, that'll change next Tuesday. There'll be like, we've actually discovered that there are 7 new distinctions within the sphere of sadness, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, though, if we treat life like the 8-pack of crayons, and it's just got your standard emotions, it's red, it's blue, it's green, it's whatever, then we don't even have access to the deeper and more vibrant hues, right? It's like, is that just purple, or is that, oh, this one's lavender and that one is jasmine, right? Or is this just blue? This one is obsidian, but that one is cerulean, right? And I think that just as much as we can go more colorful on the sadness spectrum, we can get into depression, anxiety, very hard emotions to endure. We also have access to the more beautiful emotions. It's not just happy. Oh, this one is vibrance. This one is zeal, right? And so I think it's really important that we just get honest in the destigmatization of human emotion being a journey that we're all on, right? And so people who are joy forward, I think we should copyright that, by the way. That's fire.
Okay. It's recorded now.
People who are joy forward also experience the opposite of joy. We can call that despair. And despair can come in so many different colors. Despair can look like a mild sadness. It can look like melancholy. It can look like a depressive episode that is not in any way connected to a disordered form of depression, right? You woke up and it's Wednesday and the weather's bad and you had some bad news yesterday that you thought you were okay with, but waking up now after processing it, you realize, shoot, I don't know if there's any way I can see the sun above these clouds, right? And I'm stuck in it, right? And so I experienced a lot of that, especially around the pandemic. 2020 was a tough year for me. There was so much going on, obviously. Shutdowns of gyms. So that really affected us. And we were like asking really big questions. How long is COVID going to be here? We thought it was going to be like this cute 2-week thing. And like, don't go to work for 2 weeks. And it was like, no, this is deadly and it's big and it's going to be here a long time. And there was a lot of, I think, just political commandeering of messaging that made the world more divisive than it needed to be. And so there was that to weigh in on. There was like, oh, now the gym can reopen, but with the, you know, the introduction of vaccines, it's like you have this 50-50 split, right? So half of your constituency is like, yeah, we're glad you're open. You should have been open sooner. And then another half is like, it's incredibly irresponsible for you to be open. And you find yourself in this messy middle ground of like, we're not trying to offend or hurt or push anybody away. And at the same time, we're just like trying to make it here. And we care about you. We're trying to be responsible in how we handle this. And so there's all of that. There's you can't really go anywhere. Everything's closed. And if you're a joy forward person, you thrive on connection. So then you're feeling disconnected and you're like, everything I used to go to, now it just happens on Zoom, right? Then my mind goes to, and maybe now as I'm healed from it, I look back on it, maybe it's escapism, but it was like, I would really love to travel. I got to get out of here. Well, the airplanes are grounded too.
Mm.
And I remember thinking about going to the mountains. I love hiking. And so I was
Yeah.
like, man, if I could just go to the mountains, I'd be okay. I really wouldn't, because wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
You don't
You
move
can't
away
run
from
from yourself.
Yeah, you can't run from
Yeah.
yourself. There's a song called Survival, and there's this lyric that says, you can run, but you can't escape your mind. You can fly, but your shadow is still behind. I love that so much. Anyway, in the mindset that I had adopted during the pandemic, as I was under so much confusion and hurt and unable to solve it by way of connection,
Yeah.
I wanted to travel to the mountains, and I realized can't travel either, so I'm just stuck here. So the next layer I drilled down into was, what is here that's essentially the mountains of the region I'm in that I drive past daily, take for granted, don't take the time to pause and notice. And so I began to notice the trees. And that was so therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And so I discovered the loblolly pine. It's like the predominant tree in our area. It takes over the span of 14 states, 29 million square miles.
You went down like a rabbit hole learning about this. Okay.
The largest forest in all of the U.S. is not like a protected national forest. There is no national park you can put around it.
Yeah.
There's no gates or fences you can like encompass it within, because it is such a widespread, pervasive area.
Sorry, I thought it was a tattoo, but no, that's a fern.
Oh, yeah.
That leaf. Is that?
It's a fern, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a little bit too. So I discovered that this loblolly pine, native to this region, it got its name because loblolly was a British expression for mud. And British explorers who had found their way here were like, oh, that tree, it only grows in swamps.
Yeah.
Its seed will only take root in the mud. It has no commercial value whatsoever. And so this tree then became the tallest thing in every environment it grows in. It became so widespread that it could survive outside of the swamps. There was an adaptation process there, right? So it took over this whole region, right?
Yeah.
And it's now the most commercially significant tree in the US, right? So it's used in construction, furniture, and paper.
Oh,
so
wow.
like the building we're in, the wooden studs in it are probably from this loblolly pine.
Yeah.
The couch that you're sitting on, the framing of it is probably from the loblolly pine. If this conversation were to be transcribed and put onto paper, that would have probably been derived from the loblolly pine.
And it wasn't a commercially successful tree.
Right.
Yeah.
This thing that was relegated to the mud became the king of everything it touches.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
So then you, instead of mountains, you were looking at these trees.
Yeah, I began to notice that in the same way that California has gorgeous mountains, Texas has these trees. It was really a bigger question of like, where am I looking to escape and try to find something that does not solve my problem?
Yeah.
Where instead can I get introspective and pause, stop trying to move, stop trying to go somewhere, stop trying to find connection that is not allowed in this era where hugs are illegal, right?
I missed that. I hated that time so much.
Like, where is there something that I have an opportunity to appreciate? That helps me big time.
Yeah.
And so, and I obviously, went on a journey with therapy and took proper steps to address it, to explore it deeper. And the more I learned, the more I just began to really appreciate little moments. I think that we go bigger when we go smaller. We feel more intense and genuine joy when we're willing to sit with the despair.
Yeah. I love that you talked about the emotions as colors, which is why I'm like, oh, we're just so in sync right now, especially with both wearing our green. I had therapy on Tuesday, and I love my therapist. We were doing some like inner child work, and she had heard like all my frustration. Oh, the emotion that we're tapping into was frustration. She's like, close your eyes. And I remember she hadn't even said like anything about colors. She never brought up colors. I remember closing my eyes and I was seeing red, like bright red. And so she's like doing the work. She's like, talk to your inner child, blah, blah, blah. And I could slowly see the red starting to dissipate. But then it was cobalt blue popped up. And I'm like, what is cobalt blue? And then there was like some grays. And then I just saw the bright white light coming in and then it all going away. But then afterwards, I was just like, what is this emotion that was red? And what was this emotion that was cobalt blue? And I was Googling it and I was just like, I've never thought of the emotions as colors. And then now you're bringing it up and you're getting very specific with the colors too. I find that really interesting too. And I've never also experienced emotion that way. Or, when people are like, oh, you're seeing red. I'm like, I don't actually see red. This time I was like seeing very bright red.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah. You learn something. Always learning something new from you.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. But in your journey through going through 2020.
Yeah.
And all those emotions and like showing up for your family and everything. Like, how did you make it through every day?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I simplified for sure.
Yeah.
I learned to not waste energy or be unwise with expenditure beyond capacity and then just end up like on empty for my family.
Yeah.
And so I would prioritize what mattered the most.
Yeah.
And not expend extra energy on other things. And that really helped me to just like put one foot in front of the other and not complicate things.
Yeah.
Also just like doing the dang work, doing the digging, asking the questions, being brave enough to really explore my feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to sit in the pain cave and let it be dark,
Yeah.
And then if you sit there long enough, you'll find light in the darkness is what I find. And so that was helpful for me, right? Like if I'm in a cave and I got to be here for a while, I'm going to need to light a fire so I can cook with it and I can keep myself warm and I can be able to see in this thing. Like it emanates light, right? And if I'm willing to sit and look at that flame long enough, I'm going to notice that it, dances and surges. It gets fickle and it fades, right? And there's so many different shapes to it. And I can start to notice on the walls and the ceiling of the cave how the light dances and gives different colors. And I can say, I'm not enjoying this situation of being in the cave at all.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like put lipstick on a pig. Like it's a bad situation. And though, my goodness, the way that flame dances is so beautiful and I appreciate it, right? And I think that when we're willing to drill down deep enough into despair, we can see those different colors show up, right?
Yeah.
Because we did the work to get there. And we're not just stuck at seeing red.
Yeah.
It's like, what if I sit with red long enough to have a good conversation? It's like I was wearing a mask. I'm actually blue, right? And I mean, there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but it was like, I sat with my grief long enough until it told me its real name was sadness or something like that. Or it told me its real name was fear. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but there's something to that. Point being, like, we'll take an emotion at face value and call it that, and it's actually something different. Like there's a Gottman's wheel of emotion. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's really cool. So like central to the wheel is like, basic emotions, happy, mad, sad, whatever. But then beyond it, it fans out into all these different things where you're like, I thought I was sad. I'm actually bewildered. And I'm bewildered because and you can go another layer deep.
Yeah.
Because I've been disappointed.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed because I held expectations. Oh, I didn't communicate those expectations.
Yeah.
So when they weren't met, it drove me to resentment that is at no fault to the other. So there's work for me to do here. Like you see how deep that rabbit hole can go if we're really willing to work through emotions.
Did you read Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart?
I did. I love Brene Brown.
Me too. The one that stuck with me is it anxiety or the variations of anxiety, state of anxiety or having anxiety? And is it excitement masquerading as anxiety? I'm like, that's always interesting for me to just look at. I'm just like, am I anxious or is it anxiety masquerading or not anxiety, excitement masquerading as anxiety?
Yeah, for sure. And I see that a lot, going back to the conversation about athletes and working with them. Like, so now being on my own athletic journey and not just coaching folks, but like being in a position where I compete, I notice it for me. Like I'll have like a really rough track day. And I'm calling it a rough track day. I'm imagining in my head as I arrive, like, oh, today's going to be rough. And I'm thinking about Have I really been eating the cleanest? Have I been getting enough sleep? I was kind of stressed about this other thing. I hope it doesn't affect my performance.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, look at everybody out there warming up. The beasts are here today. Can I even hang with them? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening is that my brain is stimulated by the environment, and I got my cool new race shoes out here, and I can't wait to get on the track. I've been waiting for this. This is the moment. This is awesome. And I'm inspired by the people that my nervous system is telling me that I'm intimidated by.
Mm-hmm.
And my nervous system then distrusts my brain and says, you're scared. Instantly, you have an urge to go to the bathroom. Instantly, you should question your level of hydration.
Mm-hmm.
Like immediately, I've been like the whole way driving there, I'm listening to my good music.
Yeah.
I get my mindset right, man. I'm ready to run. I've stretched, I've hydrated, I've prepared.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I feel this sense of nagging, almost crippling anxiety. And it's exactly what you described there, what Brene Brown broke down. It's an excitement that
Mm-hmm.
feels like anxiety.
Yeah.
But again, you'd have to sit with it long enough for it to reintroduce itself.
Yeah. Also, I think that we need it to feel like anxiety sometimes, because, well, we look at anxiety as like probably like a bad thing. Sometimes anxiety is a great,
save your life.
Yeah, it's a great fuel. It fuels you. It motivates you. Or like someone having a chip on their shoulder, like an athlete. You know, that chip, while it's unfortunate that they have that chip on their shoulder, did it motivate them to do a little bit better? Did it drive them to get to where they are right now? Like, if Tom Brady was drafted first round,
we'd have a different Tom Brady.
Yeah. Or if Johnny Football wasn't drafted, he was first round, right?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you the truth.
I think he was very early on.
So he happened to be an Aggie, and I don't really follow his journey that closely as a Longhorn. No disrespect to Johnny Manziel.
All the disrespect to Aggies, though. But I remember, I think, because I was living here when he got drafted, and, you know, there was a lot around him and, you know, his life
He had a Drake song. Drake was like shouting him out. He was like, draft day, Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, like there was just like, if he didn't have all of that, I mean, if he had the chip on the shoulder, he could
If he had to have that dog in him to prove his greatness, because people didn't believe it until they would have seen it, he would have shown us that. Yeah.
I think like we're all given, and it's really like just thinking about this, like it sucks when we have to go through these hard times, but it all is there for a purpose and a reason to get us to keep growing and give us the life that we really want for ourselves.
Yeah. But
it really sucks when, you know, you see someone who has like all this hardship that they have to overcome, but then they thrive and they become, it shapes them, right?
Yeah.
Like you need it. It's also just like really sucky to have to like deal with it and like sit in it too. Like you were saying, like sitting in the darkness, you're like, this sucks, but it's gonna make you better at the end of the day. And adversity breeds greatness. Like LeBron James came from poverty and he's now a billionaire, right? Like if he was born from a silver spoon, would he have worked this hard? Would he have done this much? I don't think so. Terry, I was going to use your full name there, but I'm not going to let everyone know your full name. That's for the select few.
Well, that's like insider info?
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah. I love this conversation. It went like our normal conversations do. Like
it's real. It's organic and raw. I love it. Yeah.
You've been enjoying the fries. So
I have. In fact, I want to just go ahead and I'm going to cut you off there. I hope it's not rude. These fries are fire.
Yes.
You probably don't typically have guests for the conversations that are like down to just like literally eat the fries all conversation long, but like I'll be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect. I love fries, and so I'm really excited to dig into this with you. Okay.
So good.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for sharing some fries and a glass of wine with me today. If you enjoy this conversation, make sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe on YouTube so you'll know exactly when the next episode drops. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep the good conversations flowing. Cheers.